Hey everybody, how are you? Not too long ago, we saw the second and probably last presidential debate of the 2024 election season. This time, America got to see Trump debating someone who was still at the top of her game. The general consensus was that this was an utterly one-sided beating of Trump by Harris. It was a total reversal of what happened in the previous debate against Biden on CNN. Now, there are a lot of people, by which I mean every Republican capable of reaching a microphone and a camera, who are saying that the reason Trump lost this debate was because it was an unfair match, 3 against 1, because the ABC moderators fact-checked his claims in real time. Let's just say I have some thoughts about fact-checking Trump, but I'll get to that in a little bit. First, I want to talk about policy, or, in Trump's case, the concept of a policy.
So, just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan.
In his decade or so in politics, Trump has never been able to explain a single policy in an unscripted setting that was concrete, possible, and true at the same time. His concept of a plan in regards to medical care isn't an outlier. When he was in office, he was just constantly just about to release his medical plan that would be better than Obamacare. It still hasn't been released. He had infrastructure week after infrastructure week without ever giving us an infrastructure plan. He'll end the Ukraine war in a day, but he won't tell us how or even on what terms. If I had a nickel for every time Trump or one of his people said, "You'll have the details real soon," I'd be richer than he is. When Trump does say something that vaguely approaches an actual plan, it's usually something cruel, like using local militias to round up millions of undocumented migrants, or it's something he could never actually do, like getting Republicans to pass free IVF care for everybody, because we all know there's nothing Republicans want more than IVF and socialized medicine. Moreover, Trump repeatedly shows that he doesn't understand even the most basic realities of any issue, like how he thinks that tariffs don't raise prices for Americans, or how he thinks that NATO military funding is given directly to the US by other countries. Nonetheless, I have personally heard from multiple very intelligent people that they listened to the same debate that I did, and that they were very much impressed by Trump's policies. I've got to be honest, that spun me for a loop. How is it that these people heard the same words that I heard, but interpreted them in a totally different way? It would be easy to dismiss them as crazy or stupid, but they aren't. Just dismissing these people is a cheap and lazy answer that does nothing to solve the actual problem. So I've been thinking. I'm trying to imagine myself in the mindset of a Trump supporter, to see if I can sort of recreate that perception in my own mind in order to understand why these people believe the things they do. And I started thinking back to the Biden v. Trump debate that we had a few months ago. That debate was universally considered a defeat for Biden by Trump. Yet when I listened to that debate, I thought Biden had made a lot of good points. Nonetheless, even people who I really respected, people who were just as opposed to Trump as I am, agreed that Biden's performance was awful. So I started thinking about it and listening to the debate, and I realized something. I was reading into Biden's responses things that he just wasn't physically able to say. Because I'm so familiar with Biden and what his administration has done, I was filling in his answers for him in my own head. However, if I put myself into the position of someone who was against Biden, or even someone who just didn't know his policies as well as I did, I probably would have heard a doddering old man who had no idea what was going on. The ideas and information that I already had in my head were affecting the way I heard things. This is something that we all have to be careful of. We can't allow whatever it is we've got in our heads to keep us from viewing things clearly, or else we're just deceiving ourselves. Something similar is happening to Trump supporters, except on a much bigger scale. Trump's vagueness when it comes to policy isn't actually a bug in his messaging style, it's a feature. He's turned his ignorance of policy into a strength. By purposefully being vague, and even by contradicting himself regularly, Trump creates a space for his supporters to imagine whatever policy they want, without getting into the nitty-gritty details. That's why one of the best ways to burst that bubble is to try to nail those details down. If you have any Trump supporters in your life, and they start talking about Trump's policies, just ask them what those policies are. Try to pin down the details. Ask them to show you a video of Trump explaining it. They won't find one. And that's when the door starts to open a little bit. It's actually doubly helpful because when you start looking up Trump and policy details, you won't find anything from him directly. But you will find a lot from the people closest to him, like the people who wrote Project 2025 and many associated policy papers. There you can get into the details, almost 1,000 pages of details in the main project alone, and every word of it completely and utterly insane. From reinstituting child sweatshops and mandatory prayer in schools to banning porn, divorce, and birthright citizenship, it's total bonkers cover to cover. The kind of stuff that even many of Trump's most vocal supporters would cringe at. Which is why Trump is so desperate to distance himself from the project and its specific, concrete, pin-downable policy points. Even though basically everyone involved in that project is from his administration. Trump needs people to be uncertain about what he plans to do so that it's easier to lie to them. Speaking of lies, that gets us back to what I was saying earlier about the moderators fact-checking Trump during the debate. You see, Trump's need for vagueness doesn't just extend to his policies, it extends to literally everything. I've mentioned a few times Vlad Vexler's concept of the post-truth politician, and that's exactly what Trump is. He isn't trying to convince people of a different version of the truth. He's trying to convince people that there's no such thing as truth at all. That's why he so often uses phrases like, people are saying, or I saw it on TV, or a lot of people believe, etc., etc. Whenever someone tries to pin him down on what it is that he actually believes, he'll squiggle out like a weasel. But there's more to it than that. Trump's attack on the moderators who fact-check him is right in line with him attacking the courts who rule against him. To Trump and his closest allies, the truth isn't this singular thing that you establish with evidence and then have to live with. Truth is purely about your side versus my side. Anything that's on my side is truth, and anything that's against me is false. Likewise, anything said against me must be coming from an enemy, because there's no such thing as neutral, objective evidence or facts. The reason why Trump has to do this is simply because he lies like nobody we have ever seen in American politics. The moderators didn't fact-check Trump because they were agents of the left or working for Harris's campaign. They fact-checked him because he told insane, mind-boggling lies again and again and again, in a way that no non-MAGA politician would ever be able to get away with. There are a handful in particular that I want to look at, many of which Trump repeated even during the debate. 1. Babies murdered after birth.
But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay.
This simply does not happen. There are no states where doctors are killing babies. It just doesn't happen. I feel so weird even talking about things like this because usually when I'm talking about an issue, I like to bring in evidence and sources, which I always attach in the video description. But here I've got nothing because there's no such thing as evidence of something that doesn't exist. I can't show you any names or dates or places because this isn't real. There's just a great big nothing. Seriously, scour the internet and try to find one example of a doctor legally killing a baby just because some lady said she didn't want it. You won't find anything. And when it comes to late-term abortions, they're extremely, extremely rare. And every case I've ever been able to find is because of some horrible health event. It's never, ever, ever some woman who just woke up in the 9th month of pregnancy and decided, nah, I don't want a baby. It doesn't happen. Maybe somewhere out there there's some mentally ill person who would do something like that. Just there are people who wake up one morning and kill their kids who are already born. But someone like that would never be able to find a legitimate doctor who would be willing to go along with it. Abortions and late pregnancy, medical abortions, are invariably a tragedy. Some critical medical complication that either wasn't or couldn't be detected earlier. To say that women and doctors are just willy-nilly killing babies is not only false, but deeply cruel. It re-traumatizes people who are already going through horrible situations. 2. Sex changes in school.
It's being able to take minor children and perform sex change operation. Can you imagine you're a parent and your son leaves the house and you say, Jimmy, I love you so much, go have a good day in school, and your son comes back with a brutal operation.
This is almost too dumb for words. When I hear something like this, I really have to wonder what the people who believe this are thinking. I mean, do you really think that there are major surgical operations going on in American schools? For Christ's sakes, does anyone think that our underfunded public schools are somehow installing full surgical suites behind the cafeteria or something? They're barely equipped for dissecting dead frogs in science class, let alone live surgery on live people. Leave aside the where, what about the when? Trump is saying that these kids go to school one gender and come home that same day, even in the same clothes as another gender. Really? Does he think people are like Mr. Potato Head dolls where you can just pop off one part and put in another? That's not how it works. I can't believe I even need to explain this, but that's the world we're living in. 3. Venezuelan gangs conquering Colorado.
It'll be tough because if you see what's happening in Aurora, Colorado today, did you see that? Where Venezuelan gang members have taken over parts of the city. They've taken over apartment houses.
As is often the case, what Trump is doing here is turning people who are actually victims and then re-victimizing them to make them out to be the bad guys. Let me explain. First of all, Trump's claims of Venezuelan gangs effectively taking over large chunks of Colorado and the city of Aurora specifically are just nonsense. Even the Trump-supporting Republican mayor of the city has come out and said it's just not true. The real story is a lot more depressing. Undocumented immigrants don't exactly have a lot of money, nor are they the type who can complain to the police, so they often get taken advantage of. In this case specifically, some local landlords were effectively running slums, charging for apartment buildings without bothering to maintain them in any way, or meeting even their most basic obligations as landlords, because who are the immigrants going to complain to? Because the landlords did nothing to maintain security, like even installing working locks on the doors, criminals took advantage, often to rob these same Venezuelan migrants. Yes, some of the criminals are Venezuelan, but a whole lot more of them are good old homegrown American criminals. The real story here isn't about migrants causing chaos. It's about rich landlords taking advantage of those migrants' desperation and allowing crime to thrive because they don't give a damn. That's it. 4. Haitians eating dogs and cats.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
This ridiculously racist lie about black people eating pets has been around for over a century. Trump has just updated it for modern times. To be clear, this is not happening. There hasn't been a single report, not one, of a Haitian immigrant eating someone's pet. A neo-Nazi group calling themselves Blood Tribe marched in an anti-Haitian protest in Springfield, and when they posted images of the march on a far-right social media site, several commenters started mentioning that Haitians coming to a town leads to disappearing pets. That's it. Some Nazi lunatic commented on a picture of other Nazi lunatics, and that's all Trump needs. This isn't new for Trump, of course. I follow him on Truth Social, and he posts memes about QAnon, the conspiracy that a bunch of globalist Jews are living forever by extracting adrenochrome from baby blood, and he posts this dozens of times every single day. What makes this especially egregious, however, is what happened next. For several days, the town of Springfield, Ohio, where these lies are placed, has had to shut down their schools because of bomb threats. Some MAGA cultist who loves Trump and hates Haitians called into the school and threatened to blow up the kids. We have little kids being targeted by terrorists because of a lie that Trump has told. And what was his reaction? Did Trump apologize for his mistake and implore that nobody harm the innocent children? Of course not. Again, these MAGA Republicans are the same people who laugh at the parents of school shooting victims while wearing lapel pins of the same weapon that killed their kids. They laugh when kids die. To this day, Trump and Vance are continuing to push this lie again and again and again, even though they know it puts children in danger. Even though those Haitians are here legally. Unlike the Venezuelans, these are legal migrants who got in due to amnesty extended to people from Haiti due to various catastrophes going on in that country right now. These people fled here because they just wanted to have a chance to work hard and live safe, normal lives. And the community of Springfield has actually been supporting them by, for example, doing get-togethers and rallies at Haitian businesses and buying food and whatnot there in order to support that community. and by the way, welcoming these people, these Haitians, into their own. But Trump is turning all their kids into targets. Meanwhile, he and Vance pretend to care so much about the children. For example, there was a tragic accident recently where a Haitian driver crashed into a school bus, and one child named Aiden Clarks died. Trump and Vance have been using the memory of this child and their tragic death in order to hurt innocent Haitians, and more than that, Aiden's parents. Aiden's father, Nathan Clark, in an unbelievable show of strength and courage, had this to say.
We felt it would be in our best interest to be here after recent comments. You know, I wish that my son, Aiden Clark, was killed by a 60-year-old white man. And I bet you never thought anyone would ever say something so blunt. But if that guy killed my 11-year-old son, the incessant group of hate-spewing people would leave us alone. The last thing that we need is to have the worst day of our lives violently and constantly shoved in our faces. But even that's not good enough for them. They take it one step further. They make it seem as though our wonderful Aiden appreciates your hate, that we should follow their hate. And look what you've done to us. We have to get up here and beg them to stop. Using Aiden as a political tool is, to say the least, reprehensible for any political purpose. And speaking of morally bankrupt, politicians, Bernie Moreno, Chip Roy, J.D. Vance, and Donald Trump, they have spoken my son's name and used his death for political gain. This needs to stop now. They can vomit all the hate they want about illegal immigrants, the border crisis, and even untrue claims about fluffy pets being ravaged and eaten by community members. However, they are not allowed, nor have they ever been allowed to mention Aiden Clark from Springfield, Ohio. I will listen to them one more time to hear their apologies. To clear the air, my son, Aiden Clark, was not murdered. He was accidentally killed by an immigrant from Haiti. This tragedy is felt all over this community, the state, and even the nation. But don't spin this towards hate. In order to live like Aiden, you need to accept everyone. Choose to shine, make the difference, lead the way, and be the inspiration. What many people in this community and state and nation are doing is the opposite of what you should be doing. Sure, we have our problems here in Springfield and in the U.S., but does Aiden Clark have anything to do with that? Did you know that an 11-year-old boy could be passionate about gardening, that he could haggle for a better price at a yard sale? Did you know that he researched different cultures to better appreciate and understand people that he interacted with? Did you know that one of the worst feelings in the world is to not be able to protect your child? Even worse, we can't even protect his memory when he's gone. Please stop the hate. I said to Aiden that I would try to make a difference in his honor. This is it. Live like Aiden. Thank you.
That, right there, that is what a hero looks like. This is a man who, during the most painful moment of his life, is still thinking about others. He is trying to turn his tragedy into something better, something that can help people and make the world we live in a more loving and compassionate place. Trump is the opposite of that. He takes people's pain and hatred, and he uses it to create more pain and hatred purely for his own benefit, and he does it again and again and again. Mind you, by now, Trump and Vance know that this story is a lie. They know what it has done to people, and they still won't apologize or even stop spreading this lie. These people are immune to the truth. They are immune to the facts. They are immune to learning anything new, because that would be admitting that they were either wrong or didn't know everything in the first place. and they are just too arrogant and too egotistical to ever admit that. It's the same reason why Trump still talks as if NATO spending goes directly to the US and that foreigners pay our tariffs. Leave aside their incessant lying. These people pathologically cannot admit when they are wrong. They would rather just get rid of the concept of truth or facts entirely. Nobody else in our politics does this. Democrats don't tell such insane, outrageous lies. They just don't. They shade the truth, they exaggerate, they interpret things in the best light for their side, like every normal politician. But what Trump does is not normal. And we cannot allow ourselves to just accept and get used to this type of madness in our politics. A society cannot function without a shared concept of the truth based in evidence. But Trump wants to create a world where the truth is whatever he says it is that minute. We can't let him do this. Vote blue, everyone. Till next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching that video, everyone. Now, if you liked that video, then please like the video, and of course, share and subscribe. And most importantly, please, if you can, comment. Because it's not only really good for me algorithmically in terms of getting my channel views, but I'm also kind of new at this, and I would love your feedback, your advice, your thoughts, comments, ideas, anything like that. So please leave a message, like, subscribe, and share. Till next time, bye-bye.